Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I love it. That's like, wow. All
Me
right.
too.
It's
I
like,
was like that too.
I just kept on going with the keyboard. Like, yeah, it's just like, oh my, yes, up and down. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you are watching, hi, I'm Shannon Stott. And look, it's Luke Wallens, everybody. This is so
Hello.
exciting. This is for now. For now, improv on and off the design.
Yeah.
So Emily Arnold and I get together once a week on Mondays, and we talk about improv in on and off the stage, but it's on and off the topic. And what we do is, if we're thinking about Emily's and my conversation about how we use improv on stage and then in our lives, I would consider this conversation between me and Luke, a registered drama therapist, about how we use improv and the theme, which is recovery this month, how we use improv on stage and in our bodies, like how we can, if we can, have a little bit more control about how the themes really show up in here, and if there are things that we can do to process them. So today we are talking about the theme. The overarching theme for the year is always not always, but this year is community. And then the underlying monthly theme is recovery. And we're talking about just that. So Luke, hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm so glad that we got to get this working.
Yeah.
And I'd love just to hear your thoughts on recovery, what you think about it, like what it is, if you had to sort of define it, and then some of the ways that it shows up. Let's talk about in our bodies immediately. Some of the ways it shows up in our bodies. You go now.
Okay. Okay. Hello. So like with recovery, a lot of times it shows up, like I like to look at it from a way that like you're away from the from the traumatic, the hard episodes, and you're at a point where you're reflective, you're resting, and you're looking at the next steps to go forward, to heal, and looking at like how yourself defines healing and defines recovery, and so there's a lot of ways that shows up, it's really fascinating, like, and also like you're looking at like where do you find comfort and where do you find your own sense of comfort, and what does that look like as well. I work with adults with disabilities, we had a cozy corner that would be good for if those individuals had felt overwhelmed by anything going on, like mentally, physically, any kind of emotional things that are happening. We always had a cozy corner set up, and whatever job that I had with working with people with disabilities, it was always important to have that, because it was a way to get respite from anybody else, focus a little bit more on yourself, and we had the room kind of set up in a very comforting way with some cool colors of like blues, purples, greens, things like that. So they're nice and cool, calming colors. We'd have different fidget toys too, that would help kind of like if your mind is spinning for whatever reason, it was really, really good to have that, to kind of like have a focus point for your mind to go to as you're working things out. I know personally, if I need to work things out, I need to use my hands as well. I remember back, I discovered that when I was working at a calendar kiosk at a mall.
You have had all the jobs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of jobs, and keep on having them. It's great.
It's great.
It's a lot of experience. But like when I was coming out, like I was processing a lot about like, okay, how do I reflect? How do I heal? How do I figure this out for myself? Because this is a huge discovery that I need to process. And so like having the calendar kiosk at the mall and just taking in new calendars and organizing them and things like that just help. Like I would have a question at the beginning of the day, and like somehow, like because I was processing stuff tactily, like that helped focus my mind on like, okay, when I move this calendar, I have this thought. When I move this calendar, I have this thought. When I like, why do I keep having the same thoughts? Or what, so it kind of helps move my thought process along, so I'm not just sitting there thinking about things and just ruminating on things.
That's so interesting, Luke, because there's an awareness. First of all, Charlotte is here. Hi, Charlotte. It's so good to see you.
Hey.
There's something that, okay, there are two things that I'm hearing. One, we as humans tend to think about recovery as something that you use the word ruminate, like something that we need to think about. Like we sit and we think about, and then we do like these particular steps to get through the recovery.
Right.
But what I'm hearing you say is, one, everybody recovers or moves through recovery differently. And two, there is an awareness that comes with how it is that you're feeling, an awareness that's like, oh, I'm thinking of this person, or I'm thinking of this event, I'm thinking of whatever it is I'm moving through when I do this thing. And instead of shying away from that thing, like instead of saying like, oh, I'm scared of that, I don't want to see it, or I don't want to move through it, it's important to become aware of it so that you can sort of move through it. And maybe the kiosk at the mall isn't the time exactly to move through, but being aware of like, oh, when I touch this thing and I do this movement, I guess the question for you then is, if the time at the mall isn't time to like really process, is there something repetitive? Is there a way you can repeat what that is like at home, especially, and then I know I'm asking a lot, so that part, and then connect that with the cozy corner, because you can make that at home too.
Oh, yes. Yeah. For sure. So there are a lot of different ways. Basically, what I'm talking about is an intentional thought process. Like you're putting intent into a monotonous task that like, so basically like, a lot of people have, thoughts when they're taking a shower or when they're driving, so it's like, it's all those kind of streams that are happening. But what if you change the game a little bit about like, okay, when I reach my destination, when I'm driving, like I want to have explored a little bit more about the question that I had in my brain. Like, how do I talk to someone about something important, and processing that. Still pay attention to the road, be safe. But even at home, like for example, there's doing the dishes, there's doing laundry, there's like doing the chores that we hate. It's like, oh god. But and I'm not like and some thought processes are hard, and sometimes like you're like if I organize this cabinet full of dishes, like like I may not have all the answers, but at least I've processed a little bit about further about what's going on. At least I made headway. There's in a book called The Artist's Way, there's a lot of like there's the pages, and a lot of people talk about the pages, about like basically waking up in the morning and writing 3 pages of words throughout the whole thing. So that's another way of recovery, of like waking up in the morning. And what I found for myself was that like when I did those pages, I thought about I just let those thoughts go, and I felt like it was like clearing the throat, but from my brain. And so,
Oh,
you know,
that's
so
so good.
yeah. So it's just kind of like, like another way to do that. A cozy corner at your house might look like just being like, I'm going to throw an extra pillow on this couch. Great. There's a reason that like we have like these living rooms and things like that are outside of where we sleep,
Mhm.
and it's because we want to set up a way that is, when we're home, we are home,
Right.
we're setting up a place that is intentionally comfortable for us to relax, to take comfort and protection, from the world at large, and to zone in on more of what we want to do and what we want to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's man. Okay, so this is the thing. I always love talking to you about this stuff because I just like, oh, we are already doing these things.
Hmm.
We're doing them unintentionally sometimes, right?
Right.
Like we're
Right.
without intention. How about that? Without
Right.
intention.
Hmm.
And so this idea of doing the dishes where usually the intention is get the dishes out of the sink and into the dishwasher and in the cabinet. That's
Yeah.
the intention of this stupid dish process.
Hmm.
But we doing the dishes is something usually that's like rote at something that we are already doing. We know how to do the dishes. We have a method. And so what you're saying is not to let go. You're saying to let go of like I hate these dishes. I hate these dishes. Let go of that
Yeah.
and have an intention behind the process, especially
Mhm.
behind the process. I can get let me at least think on or sit with this part of the healing process or this part of a recovery process.
Mhm.
And the other thing that's interesting to me, I want to make sure I'm looking at all of our comments. Ooh, there's lots of links are happening. Yes.
Oh,
So
yay. Okay.
the other part, yes, the other part that's part of the recovery process that I personally go through is it feels like recovery happens to us.
Yeah.
Like, right? It feels like the thing that happened that we need recovery from happened to us.
Hmm.
And also now I have to recover. And all I have to do is sit here and by a certain time I will have recovered.
Ding. It's just microwavable. Yeah.
Like, and that
Yeah.
can be some of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm thinking like when you have a broken bone
Yeah.
and or something like that, and somebody says the only thing you can do is sit there and recover. You have to let this heal. You have to just let it do what it's supposed to do. And
Mhm.
sometimes that can be helpful. Like it can be encouraging that there's nothing you have to do. The bone is going to do itself what it has to do. And if you just let it do what it's supposed to do, it'll be fine.
Mhm.
But with other things, like you were talking, I love that example of like talking to a friend about a hard topic or recovering from like a
Yeah.
conversation that you've had. That is more complex. That is a complex something that you're going through.
Mhm.
And you don't have to just sit there and the bone or the conversation is going to set. There, it is encouraging to know that there is something that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I want to do this. This
Okay.
is what I want to talk about, really.
Yeah.
I want to move our conversation. Right now, we're talking about recovery in our bodies and how, as far as some of the things we've talked about, like a cozy corner, um, do, having intention behind a chore.
Mhm.
How do you think that? How about this? What are some ways improv teaches us when we take improv classes, when we take improv workshops? What are some ways that improv teaches us to recover from things? Ooh, I have some things, but I want to ask you first.
Oh, dang. Okay. Yeah. What are ways that improv teaches us to recover? Um,
Mhm.
I mean, one, just physically being in a new space, in a space with other people that you don't see every day.
Mhm.
So just physically, showing up to a new place, even virtually as well. I would say that's a new place too.
Mhm.
That you're being like, okay, my mind is going to shift a little bit. That's going to help my mind shift and my emotions shift a little bit, so I can, because what you want to do is you want to just gain a little bit perspective of your own situation, your own emotions, your own thoughts. Um,
Yes.
and then the nature of improv is basically you're using your imagination, you're making it up on the spot, but you're also you're not focusing on just your imagination, your things, because you're in a room with other people, and and so you have to figure out how to work together. And so
Yeah.
your mental intention and your emotional intention is to make sure that that scene is happening as best as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and to keep walking down that path with you,
Mhm.
the when you're talking about intentions, we really have a lot of intention when we go into a scene where, most of us are just like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. There's gonna be a tree and I'm gonna be an owl and I'm gonna hoot, watch me hoot, you
Yeah.
know? But because of the exact thing that you're talking about,
Yeah.
the, the fact that somebody else also has intentions,
Yeah.
we are working to create a story together.
Mhm.
And where the recovery comes in is where your story, that
Mhm.
you're going to hoot the heck out of this owl, whatever. And this other person is like, I'm a business person in a submarine. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
There we
have
go.
to,
Great.
right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to, one, release. You said at the very beginning, you used two R words, resting. Yeah, you use this
Oh, yeah.
reflective and rest.
Mhm.
And I would add in there, for specifically for on stage, there's a release that
Yeah.
comes with that. So you will have to release what you thought this process was going to be. You have to reflect a little bit on what's happening right now. Reflect on, okay, you're in a submarine, I'm an owl. Okay, I'm releasing some of this. What both of us are releasing a little bit. How do we come together? And
Mhm.
that rest part is like the breath that you take, I would say, on stage, the breath that we take. We're trained to, okay, in every moment we are recovering, right? We
Mhm.
are, in
Mhm.
every moment is a recovery from the previous moment so that we can build this thing together. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a who's not taking an improv class? Take it.
Take improv. Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah, and also, with drama therapy, it kind of takes it a different step. Like everyone's there, to work on a certain issue, a certain
Mhm.
theme, and so there can be a lot of value about, like, okay, we're going to set up a scene in a way that will that we've had. That we find an obstacle with,
Mhm.
and we're going to set up the scene in a way that the dynamics are there, where the obstacle is there, and we're going to see if we can navigate it through as a group, and either have people watching and reflecting, or participating, or both. Just depends on the group. But and that kind of like helps, and like it's same with improv. It could be a total scene about like owls and submarines, but at the same time, they're like, oh, I got a lot out of that because I felt like I was an owl navigating a submarine, but then I had wings, and it was hard to do the periscope thingy, and it's like, oh no. So yeah. So,
There is
yeah.
something I'd love to chat a little bit about that specific sort of moment that people in drama therapy, and I'm sure it does happen on stage in an improv like scene, but with drama therapy, we're specifically narrowing in. We're specifically narrowing in on a certain thing, and I wonder, is there a way? Because is there a way when we get these feelings on stage, right? When we get a feeling on stage of like, oh man, this owl be in a submarine is really bringing things up for me. I think this is the question. The question is when we are on stage, we're faced with something that comes up for us, because a lot of people will tell you, improv is not therapy, but it can be therapeutic.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And what do we do when we're hit with like, whoa, I'm in a scene and I'm feeling something. I don't want to be like, that can feel so, it can feel so vulnerable is the word I'm looking for. So how do you, on stage, how do we navigate that? And how is it navigated with drama therapy?
Yeah. We'll start with improv and then go to drama therapy. So with improv, you're already in an environment where it's a yes and environment. So if those things come up, the beauty about improv is you can be like, okay, time out. This is how I'm feeling. This is where I'm at. And I don't understand why I'm feeling this way, maybe, but I feel like, can we, navigate this scene in a different way, or can we navigate a little bit further and center on this character to go further? Similarly, it can happen in drama therapy as well, and it's highly encouraged. So we're like, cool, that's great. Let's explore that a bit more. Let's zoom in on it. If the person feels comfortable, the person that had those feelings, they're in the driver's seat, and so we always want to make sure that they are exploring things that that would be a way to that would promote more of healing and not re-traumatizing or anything like that.
Got you.
So we want to navigate a little bit carefully like that, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want to set up a scenario where that new character, say the owl, is is in even more obstacles, challenges, because that may not be helpful to the person playing the owl. But you do want to explore okay, let's take a pause. Let's see what pieces are there. What okay, so the owl felt this emotion, and was moving like this. And so we'll split it up. We'll have one person being this one emotion, this person being another emotion, this person being just the movement. And we'll, see little snippets of that, little TikToks, little repeated things, or GIFs, not TikTok. So, but even shorter. And then, we'll reflect on how does that make other people feel? What's the common feeling in the room? And how can we work with that? We first off, it's going back to the scientific method of identifying what the situation is, and then identifying okay, so if I'm moving like this, maybe we need to move differently. Maybe we need to just keep on moving like this, and or maybe we need to think of a whole different movement that we could plug in back to this character and come back to that scene. So
okay. I feel like suddenly I have to say a thing, and the thing is, all the stuff that Luke just said, don't try that at home. Luke is a registered drama therapist, and we're talking about things that happen in a drama therapy context.
Yes.
If you're watching this and you're a theater teacher or an improv teacher, and you're like, that sounds like a great way to explain. Don't do it.
Yeah. Don't do it without a drama therapist.
Don't do it without a drama therapist. Yeah. So the all of that being said, as far as let's break it down, let's look at the body, let's look at these particular things off stage. And when we say off stage in this show, we're talking about the design of ourselves. When we're talking about off stage, we're talking about in the realm of a drama therapy session. And when we're talking on stage, we are talking about in the realm of the theater, of an improv scene. And when to sort of bring us together or bring us back around to recovery and how that plays out on stage, and also going back to the things that you were saying at the very beginning of this with intention, like the things that you do with intention, it can be so healing. And I'm not saying get on stage and use the stage for your therapy. What I am saying is practice. Improv is a practice. And if you can practice the different facets of whatever it is that you're doing, of a character, right? When you build a character, sure, you can be, yes, we're just going to go with this owl, okay? This owl made it into our show, and it's just going to stay in this show.
Hoot, yeah.
But we go into, all right, in this scene, the owl is an owl, and it lives in this submarine. Great. What are the other facets of the owl? Can we, in the 3 minutes or in the time that we have in a narrative, where did the owl come from? What brothers and sisters did the owl have? What friends? What exciting things or non-exciting things? What is the life of this owl? But latching on, asking yourself a question like that, latching on to the answer. Oh, this owl definitely has 5 older brothers. Okay, if that is true, what else is true about that owl? And then that can motivate. That's the intention behind the next time you're in a scene. And when we're practicing that, what it sounds like, if we're practicing making choices, seeing what that choice, how that choice plays out, we can take the practice of that off stage into a drama therapy session, or not even into a drama therapy session, as we're practicing recovery, and think about, okay, what are the pieces of the thing that I'm recovering from? I don't have to think about this whole scenario that happened to me in one giant chunk. Right. I can take little bits and sort of uncover that while I wash this teacup, while I wash this this fork. It doesn't have to be the whole scenario. No.
Yeah. And also like like you were talking about like the owls, like siblings and everything like that, and then also like off stage in your own life, you do have your own a system, a comfort system of like, I have this family, I have this friend, like I have these people that I can talk with, that, can help, sit in your comfort zone, and talk with you about these things. And so, that's another tool that is always there. You have a network of people, friends, family, acquaintances that can talk with as well.
Yeah. We're wrapping up, but I see a question. Marissa is like, oh, yeah. Can you give an example? Marissa, we want to answer your question. We want to give an example. An example of what? Are you still there? If you're still there, answer that question. An example of what exactly? And while you're writing that, Marissa, Luke, anything you want to leave our people with either an exercise they can practice for the week, a thought, a book. We did talk about books. Anything?
I would like to go back to just kind of an intentional thought. I mean, this is basically this is a practice that's gone on for a long time. But it's about like, okay, I, just being aware of I keep on having this thought, or I keep on having this different movement, and how can I play with it? How can I work with it? And one of the ways to work with it and play with it is to find a task that is very monotonous. That's just about like, okay, I'm going to be painting this wall, or I'm going to be sweeping the floor, or things like that. That would be like, okay, I have a question in mind. I'm going to sweep this floor, and I'm going to explore this idea. You may not come to any conclusions, but at least you have taken the time to explore it just a little bit more.
I love that. Okay, Marissa, you did it. An example of taking just one piece of the story to hone in on or use from the story of several brothers, taking one part of the story and focusing in on it in drama therapy. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to let you take that, Luke.
Okay. So say that that the owl, had one brother who was, very supportive of the submarine mission that the owl is on, and then another brother who was like, no, you'll never make it, you'll sink. Oh no, and so it's about just like taking that aspect of it, and so you have like one improv scene where you have an owl just sailing in a submarine, sailing, I don't know, navigating, driving the submarine. So yeah. But
we got it. We have submarine lingo on
there.
point.
It's there. So yeah. So that would be an improv scene, and the owl would be encountering a lot of different things, throughout. But they may have an off the cuff comment about like, oh man, like I have one brother who is really mean and not supportive, and one brother that was. In improv, you may go into another scene where you see them at home, at dinner, talking about what happened at the submarine. Where in drama therapy you may have that, but it's always kind of the emphasis of exploring a little bit more about like, okay, so like we had that dinner, and figuring out like what phrases come up with like the older brother or the younger brother or the middle brother, and how do those phrases interact, reflecting on those, and then seeing if there's any solutions that come up, or anything that comes up to explore further. So,
yeah, I think that's a great example. I hope that was helpful, Marissa. Because we are flying this submarine.
Yeah.
We are piloting it.
I love it. It's great. Yes, we are. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, friends. Yes. Oh, look, Marissa says, got it. Thanks for explaining. It sure was. Marissa, this is why we have these conversations. This is so good. Yeah. Friends and family, we're wrapping up. We did it. We wanted to come out here and explore this conversation with you, see if it was helpful. Luke and I are gonna go to we're not going back to the drawing board. We're just gonna draw on the drawing board and see what you need, how we can help, because this is amazing. On and off the stage, having a registered drama therapist at our fingertips, Luke, these are so helpful. It's helpful to know and to have some weight behind how we show up on stage, and then how we show up in our bodies as we are off stage and moving through the world. And you really helped us with that today, especially as we are navigating recovery I know it's very early, but I'm watching as October is coming, November is coming, December is coming, and that time of the year can bring up a lot of things for us. So looking back on having these tools is going to be really, really helpful.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Happy to help. So,
Yay!
yay!
Okay, friends, we are out of here, and we'll see you another time on Improv On and Off the Design.
Ah.
Yeah, we'll play with that title. We'll play. We'll
Yeah.
see if Luke really likes it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.